Adam Silver, the commissioner of the league, as he does at every NBA Finals and as his predecessor David Stern did before him, he spoke before Game 1 on Tuesday.
The State of the NBA, right?
Yes, State of the NBA address. And all the reporters that were there could ask him whatever they want. And he was asked about load management. And here's what he said, Rob. He said resting, so, resting players who aren't hurt, but not playing them in the game, is up over 100% this season from last season. Here he is with his quote.
This is not something that's been talked a lot about in the context of injuries, but resting is up over 100% this season from last season. The issue which we're trying to get to the root of is, does resting work, frankly? Does load management work? And there's different theories out there on it. And what's most surprising, as I said, it's not just about injuries up this season. We've seen this upward trend for several years. And you'd like to believe that with the investment, the level of sophistication, the number of doctors, the amount of analytics we look at, the data we're able to collect that we couldn't in the old days, that we, putting the pandemic aside, would have seen improvements. And we haven't seen that yet.
Rob, I'm with Adam Silver, and I applaud him for his honesty. He could have brushed this aside, but he opened up about this, and I think that's real. Does resting work? And I don't know, you don't know, we're not doctors, but we are just looking at evidence. We know that resting is up more than ever. He said it's up 100%. And you could say this in basketball, and you could say it in baseball. And guess what? It looks like, Rob, the players are hurt more than ever. And let me say this before we go on about the resting. I do think sometimes, not with every player, but sometimes it's used as an excuse. It's thrown out there as an excuse. And one of the reasons I think that is because a lot of players, your time to rest is in the off season, but so many of them want to play in the Olympics. And I get it if maybe you've never been, you never played in them, and you want to get that experience. But guys go play 2-3 times in the Olympics. Devin Booker's, who's going as late as anybody in these playoffs, obviously he's with the Phoenix Suns in the finals. He said, I'm on the first thing smoking to Tokyo. He ain't worried about rest. And so I think sometimes it's thrown out as an excuse. And I just don't see, again, I think Adam Silver is right when he says, we don't know yet. Because, Rob, where's the evidence? Is it just me? Pitchers getting hurt more than ever. Aaron Judge gets hurt. Giancarlo Stanton.
It's unbelievable. He's actually healthy this year.
This year he's healthy finally, right?
I know.
But look, better nutrition, better weight training, better travel because you're flying charter, better equipment. Everything is better. And yet they're getting hurt. It seems like, and I'll say this because Silver referenced this, Rob. He said the injuries have been increasing the last several years. So it's not just this year. Maybe that's why, remember a few weeks ago, the NBA said, look, injuries are not up. Maybe the stars getting hurt more, but injuries in and of themselves are similar to last year.
I don't believe that.
I do, actually. I don't know the numbers, but I think the numbers are probably the same.
I don't believe that in the bubble.
Well, let me finish my statement. But if you go back maybe 10 years, there's a huge increase. He said they've been up the last several years. So they were high last year. They were high the year before that. They were high the year before that. Maybe this year's aren't any higher than that. I don't know, but I think that's viable.
I don't buy last year that they're the same number as last year in the bubble. Anthony Davis,
Kyrie didn't play in the bubble. Durant didn't play in the bubble.
Yeah, but they were already hurt though. They didn't get hurt.
Yeah, but that's an injury during the season.
No, they were already hurt.
Kyrie wasn't. He played 20 games.
Durant was out though, but it
counts as an injury.
Yeah, but there was way more injuries this past year. Clay
was hurt.
Somebody.
I mean, it's a lot of people hurt last year.
Yeah, but the numbers seem to be way higher. I just don't feel like it was the same with a shorter season and the same number of people got hurt. I don't buy it. But anyway, I think that it has nothing to do with health or whatever. People use it as an excuse to get paid and not play. That's exactly what it is. It has nothing to do with anything else. It's a way of taking a night off and just saying, I don't feel like playing. And it's not frowned upon because some of the biggest stars have done it. And once they started doing it, other guys didn't feel shamed into it. When Michael Jordan played 82 games, other guys weren't taking nights off. They looked at, that's the guy. He's the guy in the league. He's the best player.
Absolutely.
He don't take a night off. How the hell am I going to take a night off? Am I right?
No, you're absolutely right.
They looked at Jordan. I'm trying to be like him and catch him, and I'm taking a night off. People would have laughed at you. What? You not hurt? What do you mean you're not playing?
Right.
And I'll tell you how you can fix it. I'll tell you how you fix it. You put them in, if they're not injured, you count that stat line in their averages, Chris, to 0, 0, 0 across the board if you're not injured. You tell me how many guys would sit out, Chris, if they put zeros in and average their stats.
Here's the only thing. I hear you, and I know where you're coming from, and I agree with that logic. The problem is that the teams and the player can always fudge an injury, back spasms, upper respiratory infection.
Can't do it.
They can always do something like that. That's the challenge. I get where you're coming from, and it makes sense, but that is the challenge. But Rob, and I was guilty of this because obviously players are playing longer today, right? We're seeing, guys, LeBron's in his 18th year, and he's still an all-NBA player. Chris Paul in his 16th year. And some might be tempted to say, hey, guys are playing longer because they do rest. Larry Bird played, about 13 years. I won't even bring up Magic because that was different circumstances. But Isaiah Thomas played about 13 years. But here's the thing. John Stockton didn't load manage. He played every night, and he played 19 seasons.
Right.
Kevin Garnett didn't load manage. Jason Kidd didn't load manage. Karl Malone didn't load manage. He played 19 years. So
and bang,
yeah.
Karl Malone. You know what I mean? Like he wasn't in the outside taking jump shots and being untouched.
Right. So like I said, I'm glad that Adam Silver didn't sugarcoat this. They don't know. And Rob, like we said, we can disagree on whether this year over last year there's more injuries or whatever, but it definitely seems like over the last few years, injuries have been up.
That's what it feels like just from watching. I don't have the data, and I'm sure that if they put the numbers together, it ain't like it's going to be a 4 last year and 1 million this year. So I know it's not that big of a gap, but it felt like there's just way more injuries. And I think a lot of the things you talked about, but the load management is just a cop-out for me. I just can't get with it. If you're telling me you resting somebody, Chris, an older player at the end of the year, right, where you've wrapped up the division,
right,
and you're going to give him a couple days.
They didn't even used to do that, but we'll go with that.
Until Popovich started doing that,
yep.
Okay, and
he started all this. Let's keep it real.
There's no doubt about it. He's the culprit. He got fined $20,000. I remember it. When they did it in Miami. It was a big national game against Miami, and he sent Danny Green.
No, it was Tony Parker, Manu, and Tim Duncan. Danny might have been one of them.
No, Danny was one. I remember doing a story on the news. All 4 of them home on a commercial flight. Remember that? Instead of playing. And David Stern was so mad and fined him.
Rightly so.
$250,000 is what he got fined that day, and he was sending a message to the rest of these guys. You can't do this to us. It's bad for the league. It's bad for fans who pay their money. I think that's the biggest disrespect is for the people who pay their money to come to the game. If you're not hurt, Chris, if you're hurt, we all been there. We bought tickets to something. Oh, man, so-and-so's got scratched. He can't pitch. He's not playing, right? We accept that. He's hurt. But when you go there and they say, well, there's nothing wrong with it. He didn't make the trip. He's taking a rest day. What?
And what I would say, Rob, and a lot of times athletes want to compare and say, well, you get days off, you get vacation. Yeah, and you do too. What do they generally get? If you go to the finals,
Chris, they play 82
you're
games.
done in June. All right? July, August, September, that's 3 months off. Or 2.5 if you start training camp in September. But that's just for the teams that make the finals. Everybody else is getting basically close to 4 months off, or a lot of teams are getting 4 months off.
They're like a teacher.
How many people get 4? Right. We might get 4 weeks.
If we're lucky. Lucky.
Most people get 2 weeks, 3 weeks. You're blessed if you get 4. You're getting 12 weeks, 10, 12, 16 weeks. That's your vacation time. That's when you can rest. And my thing is, Rob, and look, these teams now, they got the science, as they call it, and the science says the body can't withstand it. Then cut the games. And Rob, Adam Silver even broached that. He broached that. If you read the transcript from his whole interview, he said is less games. That we've been playing 82 games just, out of tradition for decades. I think he said 50 years. It's been longer than that. But do we need, he just said, is it fewer games or what? And he said, we played 72 this year and guys are getting hurt. So you don't know if that's the answer. But my thing is this: if the science says, if you really want to go by the science, and the science says the body in tip-top condition can handle 65 games at the pace that the NBA players play, then you know what? Cut it to 65. Because what they want, Rob, is 82-game money, but not 82-game work.
But that's it, and that's what I'm saying. If you if you want a day off, that money, Chris, your game check, that money goes into a pot, and if any fans want their money back from that game, they can get it from there. If they came to see you play, you tell me if you implement that, but the union would never go for it. But
I think players would do it.
You think they would? They would give up a game check.
Let's say hypothetically, I'm off.
So.
Oh, yeah, if I'm off, if I want to take a break and it's going to cost me $80,000, I'm making $30 million a year, and it's going to cost me $80,000. I could see a player doing that. Not often, but I could see a player doing that. No doubt.
I think that they would scream to the high heavens.
$80,000 if I'm making $30 million. I think they would fight it.
More than that.
I think they would fight it. Yes, but
I think
they would buy if they ended up making it a rule, I do think every blue moon, I think a player would do it.
You just should not be paid to take off when you're not injured. You only play, Chris, 82 to 365
days a year. Well, I don't want to belittle 82 games. Though.
No, but I'm just saying with the year.
NBA, yeah,
no, but 365,
still.
Don't act like taking a day, like you want 4 or 5 days off during the season. I just think it's asking a lot. That's all.